Imagine cults so extreme, so absurd, that entire governments decided to ban them from existence. These groups crossed moral boundaries, broke laws, and dove into behavior so disturbing that the world had no choice but to react. In today's video, you'll discover 10 cults so bizarre and dangerous that they were officially outlawed. But what made them so serious? And how did they manage to attract so many followers with such insane ideologies? Get ready for a dark journey through twisted doctrines, megalomaniac leaders, and real-world tragedies. These cults were dismantled, expelled, or made illegal for threatening lives, manipulating minds, and challenging the very fabric of society. Some ended in massacres. Others continue in secrecy even after being banned. This is not just about religious fanaticism. Many of these cults involved politics, power, mind control, abuse, and even attempts to form independent nations. The line between cult and crime disappears completely, and you'll be shocked at what some of these groups were capable of doing. Watch until the end to discover which cult was literally declared an international threat and which one founded its own secret city. Let's begin. Aum Shinrikyo, Japan. Founded by Shoko Asahara, Aum Shinrikyo presented itself as a spiritual group blending Buddhism, Christianity, and apocalyptic prophecies. The cult attracted thousands of followers, including highly educated individuals. But behind its spiritual mask was a plan for destruction. In 1995, members carried out a sarin gas attack in the Tokyo subway, killing 13 and injuring thousands. It shocked the world and revealed the group's true intent. Authorities found stockpiles of weapons, plans for more attacks, and evidence of biological and nuclear ambitions. Asahara was arrested, convicted, and executed, along with key members. Japan declared the group a terrorist organization, and several other countries banned it entirely. Aum Shinrikyo serves as a chilling example of how spiritual movements can mutate into deadly cults when combined with delusion, power, and science. The attack remains one of the deadliest acts of domestic terrorism in Japan's history. To this day, splinter groups from Aum Shinrikyo still exist under different names, but they are heavily monitored by intelligence agencies. Rajneeshpuram, USA. In the 1980s, Indian spiritual leader Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh chose a remote part of Oregon to build a utopian city. Rajneeshpuram attracted thousands of followers who wore red, obeyed strict teachings, and lived under an elaborate commune system. But behind the meditation and spiritual freedom was an aggressive political agenda. When local residents resisted, the cult launched one of the largest bioterrorism attacks in U.S. history, contaminating restaurant salad bars with salmonella to disrupt elections. Over 700 people were poisoned. The FBI uncovered a massive web of crimes, including wiretapping, immigration fraud, and assassination plots. Rajneesh's top aide, Ma Anand Sheela, fled the country but was eventually extradited and imprisoned. The cult's empire collapsed, the land was seized, and the group was banned from re-establishing itself in the U.S. The story of Rajneeshpuram is now infamous, showing how spiritual idealism can turn into a dangerous quest for control and power. Order of the Solar Temple, France, Canada, Switzerland. The Order of the Solar Temple, led by Luc Jouret and Joseph Di Mambro, believed in the imminent end of the world and the idea that death would allow spiritual ascension to a new planet. Behind this mystical vision was a pattern of secrecy, rituals, and ultimate tragedy. In 1994, 53 members died in coordinated murder-suicides across 3 countries. Many were found drugged, shot, and arranged in ceremonial positions. Subsequent incidents occurred in 1995 and 1997. Investigators revealed the leaders had orchestrated everything, eliminating members who questioned them. France, Canada, and Switzerland outlawed the group, citing it as a threat to public safety. The scale and planning behind the deaths horrified authorities and exposed just how far cult leaders can go. The Order remains one of the most terrifying examples of mass manipulation and the dark side of esoteric belief systems. The Nation of Yahweh, USA. Founded by Hulan Mitchell Jr., aka Yahweh Ben Yahweh, this cult mixed Black Hebrew Israelite ideology with violent nationalism. Initially seen as a self-help religious community in Miami, the group later became linked to a series of brutal murders, including beheadings. Yahweh demanded absolute loyalty, and allegedly ordered followers to kill those who opposed or betrayed him. The FBI launched an investigation that led to multiple convictions, including Yahweh himself for conspiracy and racketeering. Despite maintaining his innocence, Yahweh served time in prison, and the group was legally dismantled. Its properties were seized, and its name became synonymous with religious extremism. The Nation of Yahweh is now used as a case study in how religious rhetoric can justify violent extremism under the guise of divine mission. The Anthill Kids, Canada. Led by self-proclaimed prophet Roche Terriol, the Anthill Kids established a commune in rural Canada that quickly became a nightmare. What started as a spiritual retreat turned into a place of horrific abuse. Terriot subjected followers to extreme punishments, mutilations, and sexual assault. Children were born into the cult, isolated from society, and indoctrinated with fear. Terriot claimed divine authority and performed grotesque medical procedures, including surgeries without anesthesia. The abuse came to light in the early 1990s, and Terriot was sentenced to life in prison. The Canadian government officially banned the group, calling it one of the worst cult cases in national history. The Anthill Kids stands as a horrific reminder of what happens when unchecked authority turns spiritual belief into tyranny. NextTM, USA, NextVM, marketed itself as a self-improvement company offering leadership programs. Behind the polished seminars was a system of exploitation run by founder Keith Raniere. Women were branded, blackmailed, and forced into sexual servitude within a secret subgroup known as DOS. Celebrities and professionals were drawn in, unaware of the darker side. Raniere used manipulation, coercion, and psychological control to maintain dominance over members. In 2018, NX4TM collapsed under federal investigation. Raniere was sentenced to 120 years in prison. Co-conspirators, including actress Allison Mack, also received prison time. The cult was outlawed, and its case became a modern warning about the dangers of charismatic manipulation disguised as personal development. Manmin Central Church, South Korea. Led by Jae-Rock Lee, Manmin Central Church was one of South Korea's largest and most televised religious institutions. Lee was revered as a miracle healer and prophet, but dozens of women accused him of sexual assault carried out under the guise of spiritual rituals. In 2018, Lee was sentenced to 15 years in prison. Victims testified they were told submission was part of divine will. The scandal shocked the country and revealed how religious authority can be weaponized. The church lost official recognition, and its broadcasts were banned. Authorities classified the group as predatory and dissolved its operations. Manmin's fall exposed the vulnerability of faith when twisted by power and corruption. Superior Universal Alignment, Brazil. In the early 1990s, Brazilian cult Superior Universal Alignment, led by Valentina de Andrade, claimed that children born after 1981 had no souls and were impeding planetary evolution. Members believed these children should be eliminated. A wave of child murders occurred in Altamira, Pará, involving mutilation and torture. Several cult-linked individuals were arrested, including doctors and professionals. Valentina denied involvement and avoided conviction, but the group was outlawed. The case remains one of Brazil's most horrifying intersections of mysticism and crime. The cult's ideology is now considered extremist hate speech, and any related activities are under state surveillance. The Family, Australia. Anne Hamilton Byrne led a cult where children were stolen or born into captivity and raised under her rule. She claimed to be the female reincarnation of Jesus and enforced discipline through drugs, isolation, and psychological abuse. The children were dyed blonde to match Anne's ideal of purity and subjected to LSD dosing. The cult operated for decades before authorities intervened in the late 1980s. Anne was arrested but avoided major punishment due to legal loopholes. The group was dismantled and survivors were placed into care. Australia declared the family illegal, and it remains a national example of how cults can hide in plain sight. Falun Gong, China. Falun Gong began as a meditation movement based on truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. Its explosive growth in the 1990s alarmed the Chinese government, which viewed it as a threat to state control. In 1999, China banned Falun Gong, labeling it a dangerous cult. A harsh crackdown followed: mass arrests, re-education camps, and human rights abuses. International organizations have condemned China's actions. Falun Gong continues legally in many countries, promoting spiritual practices and protesting persecution. In China, however, it remains outlawed and heavily censored. The story of Falun Gong reveals how spiritual movements can clash with authoritarian regimes, and the line between cult and religious freedom is often political. Each of these cults crossed boundaries between belief, control, and violence. They show how ideas, when unchecked, can spiral into actions that destroy lives and shake governments. What's striking is that many began with noble ideals: community, healing, enlightenment. But under the wrong leadership, they became systems of abuse and fear. These stories remind us to be vigilant about who we trust with our minds and spirits. Government responses were often too slow. In some cases, victims waited years before help arrived. That's why documenting these cults matters, to learn and prevent similar tragedies. Many of these groups still exist in fragments, rebranded or underground. It's essential to recognize the signs of manipulation and control before it's too late. If you found this video informative, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to know these stories. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.